and Beer.
Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Today our guest is Corey Congilio. Corey, thanks for driving all the hell of the way up here, man.
Salute, brother.
It's a long way, and we're thankful to have you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Glad to be here.
Lyndon McCarty, twisting and tweaking, as always.
And you know how lucky you are to have an assistant.
Well, you know, he's more of the what's the kindest way to put this?
Co-conspirator.
He's the gears. I'm just the grease.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it. It's colorful.
Yeah, well, I was trying to come up with a good way to say that. Sometimes the words, they escape me, as listeners and watchers of this podcast will know.
In Wizard of Oz, you're the face of the wizard. I'm the guy behind the curtain,
right,
pulling the strings.
Right. Never mind that, man.
Except for the editing, because you do all that.
Yeah, except for all the work.
Except for all the work. Everything else.
Anyway, now that we pulled the curtain back a little bit. No. Man, so you brought your guitar and your pedal board.
Yeah.
We did a little jam. It was awesome. We haven't
fun.
played the chicken in forever, man.
Yeah. It's good picking with you.
It was likewise good picking with you. We definitely need to do that more often. Every time we do that, everybody's like, man, that was so much fun. We got to do this more often. And the only time I ever do that is right before this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's busy working, launching websites.
Yeah.
Producing sessions, going on the road. I'm not producing any sessions, play sessions, playing downtown, playing on the road. And sometimes it's just hard to get together with people and play for fun, you know?
It's hard to just have a beer with somebody. So you're accomplishing both here.
Hey, cheers. Salute indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to start with, like, talking about your background, but the question on my mind is, what kind of practice regimen do you have? Or do you just get your practice through creating content?
It's a little bit of both.
You don't sit down and be like, today it's third mode of melodic minor until I've got it where I want it?
Oh, gosh, no, because that means I'd have to really study it.
Well, yeah, I know, it's hard, bro.
Well, what's funny is when you do here's the thing. All of that shit doesn't matter when you're playing guitar for a living. And I want to validate it this way. If you're playing guitar for a living and you're your own artist that makes use of a melodic minor scale, then it's valuable to know it. And I'm not saying it's not valuable. But when you're playing three chords in the truth, like we have done, you got to shift your focus to how good can I make these three chords and everything I play within them. Like, I bet if you took the most heavy jazz guitar player and you said, we're going to put you on a Kenny Chesney song right now, they'd drop in a heartbeat. Just like I would drop playing Giant Steps. Sure. Do you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
I just drop playing both.
No, so anyway, my practice regimen is like what you're saying. I'm thinking about, what am I going to teach on? Let's make sure I really have that, because I have to have it here in my hands, but I have to have it here, and then I have to have it here so I don't sound like an idiot when I'm talking about it. And for instance, I was just like brushing up on some arpeggios recently, because I'm going to go deeper into that with some of my videos and really make sure people know what the heck they're doing with them. Sure. Because to me, that's how I play. I'm not a modal player. I'm a key center player. Let's get real nerdy. So that means basically I'm more arpeggio driven than I am modal.
I'm with you, man.
So I feel like you can't know that enough. There was a time when I put like iReal Book on my iPad and put like A Foggy Day on and just walk through arpeggios through every chord, just because.
I do that with every standard that I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even play standards, but it's the best practice. If you can't
make the changes, it doesn't matter if you know melodic minor or not.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. Because all of that stuff works mostly, in my opinion, if you're playing blues and dominant 7-driven shit. Totally. We just went there.
Well, and it's like, if there are certainly very hip and like very correct ways to use those kinds of things where you're making the changes or implying certain key centers and things like that. But like, all the players that I love hearing play like that, and guys that really know what they're doing, like, they spent the hours,
right,
as well as it's like hours on top of that, and like, I find myself going back and forth between melodic minor specifically, I just find myself grappling with it because the sounds that it creates, and I do some jazz work, and the music that I am creating on my own, and which will hopefully be out pretty soon, like lends itself to that, some of that color. I mean, it's not like fusion, and like I did the fusion thing, into the fusion thing.
Sure.
Still like to play it. That's not what this is. It's like, you know, just colors, you know.
Yeah.
But there's just a few chords, but there's room for colors, and that's like it's how I hear music. You know.
The interesting thing is it melodic minor up a half step, or is it altered scale?
Well, it depends because they don't both work at all time.
Well, how do you think about because you can play a G7 but play A flat melodic minor, which is the same as G altered. You know,
it's not exactly the same. There's a couple of different scale steps. It's so I'm gonna have to get a guitar in my hand to think about it. So like G7 and the melodic minor will be
G melodic minor, or what melodic minor are you playing against it?
A flat
melodic minor.
A flat melodic, but the altered scale would the E instead of the E flat.
No, that's half whole diminished.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. That's right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking half whole.
You're thinking. There's one note that differentiates it, and that's where that is. You know, but so my question is though, is like. All that stuff, the lines get very blurred between what you can call it and what you consider it.
Sure.
You know, so, you know, you can take the arpeggios of that melodic minor scale, you know, like if you're playing G altered, which is A flat melodic minor, you know, you can play a D flat 7 arpeggio.
Sure.
And that's kind of cool. Like if you're playing in G. D flat, because now we approach the 4 chord from a half step away. But that's like I didn't know that's what that was. I just
well, neither did probably most of the people that were just now listening.
And I don't
now
have a handle on it. I don't have a handle on it. I just know that's
not
shit,
what I just heard.
I just know that shit exists, and I have to learn. Like what I did the other day was I wrote down every arpeggio in all 12 keys of the melodic minor. So it was like, major minor 7, minor 7, major 7 sharp 5, dominant, minor 7 flat 5, back to the 1. I think it is, if I named all this correctly.
Two minor 7 flat 5s.
2 minor 7 flat 5, right? Yeah. And then back to the
6 and 7.
Right, 6 and 7, exactly. So I was like, shit, it's cool if you know that. What else? Like, if you understand that, you're pretty far fucking ahead of the game.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
and honestly,
it's pretty badass.
That it is because like you're just talking about, that's where I find the most use out of that stuff.
Yes.
Is finding the functionality of the chords inside the scale, as opposed to just being able to play it 3 notes per string or in position or or whatever the fuck. But that stuff is still important too. If you find yourself in the middle of a run and you're like, "Oh, what's that sound I've been hearing?" Oh, it's like boom. Then your hands there because you spent the hour, the mindless practice. Which I say it's mindless. It's really not. It should be done mindfully, but it's not the fun kind of practice. You know? It's not the application. It's the muscle memory.
It's literally like going to the gym.
Exactly.
You don't go to the gym just to walk around and pick up 5-pound weights that you can lift all day. You get your ass kicked, hopefully. And the same thing happens in the practice room. And I have a hard time now with all the distractions. Like if I can get a half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour in the morning, which just means I'm getting up earlier and earlier these days, that's great. But then I have to divide that time. Like I have a show coming up where I got to learn songs, so that takes that chunk, and it's about dividing what's important at the moment. You can always come back to that stuff because somebody's not holding a gun to my head saying, I'm going to pay you for this gig if you name me all the modes of the melodic minor. Like,
exactly.
So that doesn't happen, so I can let that rest for today.
Yeah.
That's cool. I always wonder, guys that I see, and this is actually the first time we met, I think, isn't it?
Officially, yeah.
Yeah, we've certainly talked before, but, guys like you who I see with such, like, tasteful playing and, like real, like, functional knowledge of theory and stuff like that. Like, I'm always curious. Like, okay, is that just an innate thing, or is that something that someone spent some time on, you know? And like, can they keep it? Are they Eric Gales? Do they just roll out of bed and can do whatever? Or, you know what I mean? Those guys are rare, but they exist, and you
totally
just never know.
No, I'm not. Everything I got from getting bruised up, you know, and sweating and bleeding and all that stuff.
I think that's
and having my ass kicked and whatever, and spending time transcribing a Mike Stern solo, and spending time transcribing a John Scofield solo,
spending time transcribing in general is
exactly, which is
useful.
What a lot of people don't do. It really makes you know, because like people say, well, they say like, how do I get my vibrato to sound like Albert King? I was like, how many Albert King solos have you learned? And they're like, and I was like,
and
how
have
many?
You tune your guitar down a minor third?
Right.
That's what he did.
But like, how did you like spend hours trying to get that to sound like it? And then I remember when I heard him, and I was like, oh, that's where Stevie Ray Vaughan got it. Oh, so he spent all that time. So I was like, I guess I have to do that too. You know?
Well, yeah, it's like, how come I can't do this immediately?
Yeah, and I get pissed off when I can't do stuff immediately.
Dude, I mean, well, it's one thing, somebody like you who clearly, just as you just laid out, understands how you get to that point, and just as many things as, again, talking about you're putting out content where you're literally teaching people about all this shit. So you clearly spent the time. So I bet it is frustrating when you come upon something where it's like, well, shit, I'm not the teacher now. So what the hell, you know?
Well, and then also you look at a guy like, you know, these freaks like Joe Robinson or somebody like that who does wake out of bed and can put together a fingerstyle arrangement of something amazing. You're like, how does he know how to do that? Like, I don't get it. You know,
him and Bukovac and all those kinds of guys.
I mean,
jerks,
jerks,
all of them.
Like, I had to, going back to the practice thing, like, I didn't go to music school. Like,
I didn't either.
You know, so I had to like.
This guy did. Fuck this guy.
So I
could
had
you
to,
not
like,
tell when I named the last two arpeggios of like
nerd?
That was a giveaway.
No, so when I started teaching, I said, I got to figure out what the fuck this stuff is because somebody's going to ask me.
Totally. Well, props to you for that. So the question that I originally wanted to ask you, which I like to ask people, especially ones that I don't know well, is like, where are you from, man? Where are you from? Personally?
So I grew up in a little town in western New Jersey called Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
Okay, I definitely have not heard
it. It is in the Lehigh Valley. So Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton.
Okay.
It's like the Jersey bastard child of that. It's like a town without a state because I could throw a rock out your window and hit Pennsylvania. Like that's how close we were.
I've been to the Allentown airport.
Yeah, which is better than it used to be. I was there till I was about 18. And then I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. So I lived in Pittsburgh for a long time. And that's how I met a lot of
Ford in Pittsburgh?
I did. That's where I met Ford. Okay. So I've known Ford Thurston since before he was Ford Thurston. And I've known him since I was 18. I used to change his guitar strings. And I used to roadie for his band.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So he was 5 or 6 years older than me, and
he's definitely old.
I was. Don't tell him that.
I will.
He's fighting, pushing back.
Oh, he knows.
But that's kind of how. And what was cool is that town, like many of that time, had a vibrant blues, jazz, and R&B thing where you're playing those 3-hour a night gigs, and you're playing.
But 3:45s, not 3 hours straight.
Oh God, no. Yeah,
not the Nashville crucifixion gig.
No,
I played a 4-hour straight private gig last night.
Oof,
it was a lot.
That sounds like a lot. But anyway, but that's kind of what happened. And actually, this is my second tour in Nashville. I lived here once in the early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Moved away, then came back. Went back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
It was a weird time. The bottom dropped down on a couple gigs and jobs, and I went back to Pittsburgh and started teaching. And then I used to play in a swing band up there, and I got back in that band, and that was one of the most fun bands I was ever in. I have to say. I mean,
when you say swing band, do you mean like old big band stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was everything. We played everything from.
I didn't know if you meant like Bob Wills or. I mean,
no,
I'm from Texas. I assume.
Right.
I hear swing band. I think Bob Wills, but
no, the band was called Dr. Zoot. And
copy that.
It was everything from. I mean, we wore suits. I had a
Cab Calloway.
We did all that stuff.
Yeah,
we did Minnie the Moocher. We had this thing where we did Minnie the Moocher into Sing Sing Sing, and I would jump out on the powered subwoofer, and the singer would throw his hat and there was a lot of times where I'd catch it on my head, like, you know. So we're like, a boom, doo, 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 doo. And I brought the Setzer. I played it like Rumble in Brighton. And they're
That's cool. I've never been in a band like that.
Yeah, it was 3 horns, guitar, bass, drums, keys, and we did all the arrangements to like the Frank stuff to the letter, you know. And it was
That's cool.
I mean, if you didn't know a 2-5-1 by the time you left that gig, that was on you.
Yeah, right.
But what's cool was like the horn guys. The one time I was in there, the trombone player, Reggie Watkins, he played with. He was a band leader for Maynard Ferguson.
Oh.
Another trombone guy that came in there was Ken Prouty. He went to North Texas. And I remember like arguments over like
That name sounds familiar.
chords, you know, with this guy like vehemently arguing about one chord or another.
Like spelling of chords?
No,
I'm
like
sorry,
is it a 9 sus or is it an 11? Like things like that,
copy.
those kinds of things. And he would say things like, "Okay, nobody tapped their foot," and it's because we had to all listen to our internal swing. Because if we're all tapping our foot, it's like a drum. You start 10 drum machines at the same time. It's going to flam at some point. So little things like that. But I remember I came here.
Cool.
I moved here. I was in the band. I left town, came here, went back, joined the band, and he was one of the first ones that complimented me on the growth of my playing. And from him, who's a North Texas guy going to Pitt for his doctorate, I was like very thankful for that. But we'd play all that. That stuff was probably the best teacher for me because you're playing, you know, stormy weather, and you're playing 1-6-2-5 for 12 minutes. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so you get to practice all that stuff because 12 minutes because the singer would go out and talk and introduce the band and all that shit. I mean, we'd go to Vegas. We went to Vegas. We went to Atlantic City. We did a lot of like Key West. We'd go down there and play like Fantasy Fest and all that shit. So it was fun. You know,
that's cool, man.
It was a great gig.
Did you just talk about Pittsburgh? Like how what age were you like in the scene, like in bands making any kind of money? Like you know,
in my 20s for the most part.
Same for me too. Some people like get into that shit when they're like 15 and 16.
I wasn't that.
I didn't know that shit existed.
Yeah, neither did I. Neither did I. But Pittsburgh had a really good rock scene there. We'd have this club where original bands, you'd play it and be 500, 600, 700 people there to hear original music. Yeah. And I was in a couple of those bands. Ford had a really popular band at the time. His was one of the most popular bands in town. There was another band there called the Clarks that's had a 30-year career. I mean, straight up touring band, 30 years. You know, you've only heard of them if you've been from that part of the world. You know? Rusted Root was from there.
Oh, okay.
A band called The Gathering Field had a deal in Atlantic at the time. So lots of stuff was happening in Pittsburgh. It was pretty wild.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like you could almost touch it. You know, like you were that close.
When did you start playing guitar?
I was 13. I played saxophone, and my dad and my uncles.
Saxophone before guitar?
Yeah, my dad and all my uncles played guitar, but they were not
a musical family. Would you say
it was? But only on paper. There was no like Partridge Family-isms at all. Nobody got around together and played. You know, everybody was kind of.
Had an instrument and could perform it.
Yeah, but
didn't.
They were rather estranged from each other. Let's just say that. So. Yeah, but each one was like progressively better. And my dad was the oldest. He played guitar and bass. Then as they got younger, they got better. So now I'm the one that has the career. So I made it this far.
Hell yeah. Well, again, based on everything that I've heard and all your cool YouTube videos and like, again, really functional knowledge that you're giving out there. Like he and I tried to get into that game, and I realized pretty quickly that teaching people something that I can do in person, but like it's a very different thing to come up with how to get that content across just to the camera. You know,
I had some good experiences when I lived in Pittsburgh. I got hired by Fishman to be like their demo guy /
Was Ford a part of that?
No.
Did Ford work for Fishman?
No.
Who am I thinking of?
No, I had that gig in like 2007.
Okay.
And here's a funny thing. I'm in Pittsburgh. I was going to say this, and Ford would say it if he would here. I moved to Nashville before everybody in Pittsburgh. I came back, they all moved down to Nashville. I was like, you motherfuckers. I was like, I was here all by myself. You guys moved down, 6 or 7 of you in a goddamn house. I was in there scraping by, doing gigs, $50 a night in Antioch, playing at the Blues Hideaway, which was kind of awesome.
That sounds pretty awesome.
It was actually really fun, but it was $50 a night.
Hard to live on $50 a night at any point in time.
Yeah. I remember I had a FedEx gig packing trucks or unloading trucks, and I took once I got that $50 a night gig, I was like, I'm out of here. Anyway, so I moved down, come back to Pittsburgh. They all moved to Nashville. I was like, son of a bitch. Then I start doing like the music industry instrument game, and I'm in that like 3-4 years before anybody I know. Fishman was doing video demos of pedals way before anybody else.
Yeah, they seem to always be kind of ahead of the game there. I feel like I remember seeing that. Like late 2000s, right?
It would be mid 2000s, probably 2010ish, somewhere around there.
I just remember Greg. So I'm from Dallas, and I've been playing at that guitar show since I was 15 years old. And I just remember Greg Koch sitting on the Fishman stage, and doing like clinics and stuff.
So imagine me doing that 4 or 5 years before he was doing that.
Right on. Okay.
Did
you ever come to the Dallas show with Fishman?
Not with that, no.
Okay.
So I was
Have you been to the Dallas show?
I was there one time. I was hanging out in the Guitar Sanctuary's booth.
Okay.
And I was teaching people how to use the aux box.
Well, I will get to the aux box. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Tell you whatever you want to know. Whatever I know, you can know. But no, so that's what got me. What was funny was they were like, we're going to this place in St. Petersburg, Florida, and they're going to shoot these videos, and you're going to be the face of them. I'm like, okay. So I had no idea how to demo a product, right? But I had like my own like inner Ryan Seacrest in me, so no. So I demo like some of their products, and I go to this place and I see all these pictures of guitar players around. The producer's really nice, and after we shoot, they're like, this isn't what we really do. I was like, okay. They're like, do you teach? And I was like, I teach like 60 students a week in like a closet in Pittsburgh. And
I know that game.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we do online guitar lessons. And it was the first headquarters of TrueFire.
Oh, okay.
So TrueFire was shooting these product videos, and they had the infrastructure in place online where they could track views and analytics and all that kind of stuff. This is 2007 to 10, so it wasn't as popular. Wow. Yeah.
That's ahead of the game right
Way
there.
ahead of the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're doing analytics on viewership for guitar lesson videos in 2007 or 10 or whatever.
So Fishman hooks up with them, and they could see who's watching the products and all that kind of shit. So I keep a relationship with them. And then about a couple years later, it was funny. This story always comes up. But I'm playing acoustic guitar and doing this delicate shit and being real nice and soft and saying, a Spectrum does this and blah, blah, blah. And they thought I was like a singer-songwriter, which I would fancy myself out on any given day, but
sure,
I'm an electric guitar player at the heart of it. And they said, we want you to do an acoustic songwriter course. And I was like, cool. I was brought up, say yes to everything. So I said, okay. They flew me down. We did a course. It was okay. We weren't going to do anything with it. They said, hey, we can't take you to dinner tonight, but you're going to go with so-and-so, and he has a blues jam if you want to go to that. And I was like, cool, can I borrow a guitar? And they're like, for what? And I was like, no, I play blues. I want to sit in with those guys. They're like, okay. So they take me there. I go, I sit in. The report comes back that Corey,
murdered.
And they said, why aren't you doing a blues course with us? And I was like, I don't know. They said, send us some video right now of you playing if you have any. So I had a couple things on YouTube, and I sent it to them, and they called up, and they said, 50 Texas blues licks you must know. That's your course. We'll see you in 6 months. Pretty much. I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to their channel, and I watched a bunch of videos to see what everybody did. And I watched my buddy Jeff McErlane and Robbie Calvo and those guys, how they presented, and I started modeling myself after them. And they fly down, I shoot the course. They're like, this is going to be fucking awesome. Remember, this is like 2010. So this is, a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And I remember the course launching. It was like the week of my birthday. And they soft launched stuff on like a Wednesday, and then they pushed the sales on the weekend. And it soft launched with like 700 sales before it even hit the weekend. And I remember making like $7,000 in the first like month from that course.
Hell yeah.
And I paid off this massive credit card bill I had, and I was like, fuck, you know. So, but that's awesome. That was the start of it for me, you know.
Okay, I didn't realize you were part of the inception of the game.
I'm an OG, man.
No
but
doubt,
I'll be honest, since we get real, I pushed back against it. I want to say I liked the money, but I didn't like it because I wanted to be a touring and session musician.
Sure.
To me, that was what made you a real musician, and some people will still argue that. Now it's whatever feeds my family.
Wrong.
They are wrong, yeah, because
old heads, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
Anytime I catch myself being an old head, I'm like, dude, you're being old, bro. Shut up.
Yeah, and I'm that way sometimes, but I not so much anymore. You know, so fast forward to, you know, I don't know. I have 19 True Fire courses, and
awesome.
After like the 17th or 18th one, I met my friend Brett Papa, and Brett said, we could be even more successful. You're leaving about. You said you're operating with like 25% right now, and he was like, I can show you the way. He's like, buy a camera and we'll make it happen.
You guys are definitely running the game around here for sure. And I've not met Brett either, but he and I have talked many times, and we've been trying to get him out here
great
too,
dude.
Man. Great dude, great player, great content. You know, there's many more dimensions to the game.
There is more now than ever, and if you look at it, people on the coasts were ahead of it. Brett kind of brought up Tim Pierce in some ways. You know, guys like Pete Thorne.
Yeah.
Then
totally.
you got on the East Coast.
Pete and Tim especially. Those are the first two that I remember seeing doing that shit.
Now I know for a fact that Brett and Tim like kind of work together on some stuff. They have courses together and whatnot.
Sure. So they used to do the show together.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and then you take a guy like under the radar, destroying it, Michael Palmisano in Maryland.
I know.
His his channel's called Guitar Gate. Guys like that. Guys here like Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage, over 700,000 YouTube subscribers.
Wow.
You know, he and I have products out together. Like, so there's people on the periphery of the music industry that were just like, you know what, we're going to go in this lane that's like completely wide open and kill it, you know, and they are. And I've learned how to.
Are.
Well, I'm like mutilating it. I don't know if I'm killing it.
Oh no, bro, it's dead.
Deer and beer.
I mean, I guess there's no time like the present to get into the aux thing. Because
Okay.
you were the first person that I saw using it on Instagram, talking about it, and
By design.
to a lesser extent YouTube. And I was like, so you clearly had some sort of professional relationship with UA at some point.
Another lesson in keep the relationships that you have fresh for many, many years, because you never know in this business who's going to be working for where.
Sure.
When. So I worked at Fishman. There was a fellow who is the national sales manager who there was a lineage of guys who worked in, they call it MI, in the music instrument industry.
Sure.
And one is my dear friend who got me the job at Fishman, and he ran with a couple guys. They all worked at Line 6 together.
Okay.
Those guys all spread out and started working for UA. Eventually, not all in one fell swoop. They all kind of lily pad jumped, you know, around to some things.
Sure.
And the guy who's a friend of mine at UA used to be the Line 6 rep here, and I met him 20 years ago here. He tried to get me a gig in Florida. He said, "Hey, do you speak Spanish?" I said, "No." He's like, "All right, bye. I'll call you back." You know, and I knew what that meant. He wanted me to do Line 6 shit for him in Miami or whatever, which would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, that means,
You know?
presumably. Sure. I've not been to Miami. It's one of my places that I have not been. I've been to a lot of places.
Yeah, I've been in and out of there, not enough to get in trouble. But in any case,
I like that phrase.
yeah, right. So a guy I worked at Fishman, another guy I knew who worked at Line 6, they all went to UA, and then ultimately James Santiago goes to UA, who worked at Line 6 and was integral working with George Trips and all those guys at Line 6 and all the early modeling stuff.
Sure.
So, you know, I'm in and out of touch with those guys, and I was trying to come up with a solution to use amps and not mic. and I didn't. My thought was with any modeling gear, it's going to be obsolete in some fashion. Doesn't matter what it is. Fractal, Kemper, Helix, they're all going to be kaput someday. They're just plastic boxes. You know, amps are living, breathing things to me. They have shit going through them. You know? You know, to me, there's personality in an amplifier. There's someone's personality in there.
That's a great way to put it.
Delana's bully coats in that room has her personality in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, my two rocks have Eli's personalities in them. You know, it's like he hears it a certain way. She hears it a certain way. I want that to come through my studio monitors. Yeah. I don't want that in a fucking profile. Yeah. You know, so I was like, I got to figure this out. So a friend of mine who, it's so connected, my friend at Digitech, well, he's actually at Harman, but Harman owned Digitech. He said, you got to watch Pete Thorne's videos on load boxes and IRs. And I was like, what the hell is that? So he had a Sur reactive load and a 2-note.
You had one of those, Lyndon, right?
I had the reactive load, the second gen one,
right?
Yeah, which was the reactive load.
Yeah,
because they originally just had.
I had the reactive load and a two notes torpedo cap.
Okay,
and it worked and it sounded great. So I thought I had this like revelatory rig. I go to the NAMM show here, and they're soft launching the aux box, and I didn't know about it. I run into my buddy. His name's Spanky. He's a legendary dude at UA, and great guitar player out of Atlanta, and I said, hey, it's great to see you. I was like, I got this rig happening right now. It's awesome. He's like, wait till you see what we have. And it was the aux, so it was everything. It was the load box. It was the, I'm not going to say IRs because they're not IRs. And I got the demo. In 30 seconds, I turned to him and I said, I need to be your demo guy. And he was like, okay. And I was like, I can tell this story. Trust me. So I lobbied really hard. They called me and they're like, can you send like an audition, you know, like a video of yourself? And I was like, it's all on YouTube. Go look. And they said, you got it. And they sent me an aux box. Me and Sean Tubbs were the only ones in Nashville that had an aux box. And Sean was doing a video, and he was also deep diving, trying like a 57 and a 121 against the aux, and the difference was negligible. Me, I was the, you know, Vanna White of the if your listeners aren't old enough, that's a gal that spun the letters on Wheel of Fortune.
They're younger than I expected them to be.
No, so I'm trying to think of put any, you know, anybody.
I remember those videos. That particularly like the ones that I was watching Sean's videos when I was living in Chicago years ago, and I remember when he started putting out stuff with the aux. Yeah, and then you see eventually he's only putting out stuff with the aux. He clearly liked it enough to, because he used to just do stuff, like the 121 and the 57 the whole time. Is he still using that?
Because he's just doing the Rev stuff now.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
little
and they have
D20 or whatever.
I don't know about now.
And the Rev stuff has IRs available with it too, so he's probably doing that. But
it sounds really good.
He's another amazing guy, a super cool dude.
Why do you say that it's not an IR?
Because it's not. What it is, it's something that they call dynamic speaker modeling. Okay. So what happens is UA has their own brand of modeling that they use in all of their stuff. And dynamic speaker modeling, the model actually reacts to how your amplifier is reacting, because a speaker would do that. As a speaker gets hot, it reacts a certain way. And that's what the aux does that a static IR won't do. An IR is a digital snapshot of your speaker amplifier at that particular place in time.
An IR is a wave file, right?
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, I don't know what a dynamic speaker model is, but
so it's
that's
like
what I was told.
Proprietary
it
technology.
Absolutely is. Okay. Yeah. But it's the same idea that they use when they model all their plugins and stuff like that.
And so you're almost always running stereo with the two of yours, right?
I kind of do
doing like dual mono.
Dual mono.
Okay.
You know, so I'll run
two different vibes to get a thick sound.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because you're going to do that in the studio anyway. Sure. So I kind of do it the same way. Yeah. But I said to them, I was like, I can tell this story, and the thing is, I was like, don't sell your old Marshall, buy an aux. You know, that was my thing, and I use the aux literally every day. Like it's a piece of my studio rig.
Dude, entirely. Same. I did a session at Sound Emporium yesterday, and I took the aux.
And you took
with me.
Wow, really?
Last time I was there, we used it.
That's awesome.
Check this out. Last time I was there, the other guitar player plays a Kemper into the speaker cabinet that he built.
I'm sorry.
They mic'd that, and we went direct out of my aux box.
It probably sounded way
and
better.
with my real amps. I also had real cabinets, but
yeah.
Did you say that they? I'm sorry. What was the first half of that?
It was a Kemper with a
it was
speaker.
a Kemper,
They mic'd.
and so it's my buddy Dennis Drummond, and to his credit, it is the best sounding Kemper situation I have ever heard.
Good on him.
I honestly, I wanted to hate it. When he does it, it sounds right.
Well, there you go.
It's
I've tracked with a Kemper. I have
tracking
a Kemper
with the
stage,
Kemper is not what he's doing. He's playing
Yeah,
it through a
through, like, a
speaker
real
that
amp.
he built.
Yeah.
It's like it's a cabinet that his buddy gave him that he put like some sort of
Yeah.
like what's the 200-watt EV guitar
Yeah.
speaker?
Yeah.
just to get it as flat.
But it's not like it's not a full
range.
range speaker.
Oh, okay.
Those sound like garbage to me.
Yeah.
And this does not. This sounds like a guitar amp.
I was doing it,
somehow.
and I like that this producer that I used to do like TV cues for and stuff. He had a Fractal, and I just went over and I'd plug. I didn't even take. I took a pick. He had guitars and a Fractal. I'd go and he'd say, try this, and I'm like, okay.
I took a pick.
Yeah, it was the best load in ever, and I didn't care. It sounded great. It sounded fine.
Yeah.
But it's about I buy these things. I want to use them.
Well,
Yeah.
also
You know what I
that.
mean? So that's what the aux helps me
these
do.
have with the invention of the aux, in my opinion, it gives your amplifier so much more use because you can get all that character and all
Yeah.
that personality like you were talking about.
And on a wide range of the knob.
Totally.
And I'll tell you what sounds really good.
Totally.
You buy some of these like $1,500 Fenders, a Guitar Center, anything with I did a video with a Blues Junior the other day, and the aux sounded incredible. Like,
because you can like
really
push the
good.
circuitry.
And it's weird because the thing that always falls short on those amps is the speaker.
cheap,
right?
cheap outs on those, man.
Exactly. So
trying to make them affordable.
I played one of those Silverface reissues through the aux, like one of my first amps I've ever tried with
Was it
it.
a Princeton or a
It was the Deluxe, and it sounded awesome, like really good. My Princeton through an aux, incredible.
I
Sounds-
love it, man.
sounds great.
I take it to big studios in this town. I'm taking my
Yeah,
aux.
they know what they're doing.
The other thing with the aux is that, a couple things. One is I remember a quote that from early
Hang
in
on,
the podcast.
is that the fan to my
It
computer?
is, yeah. It was that you said you've been drag kicking and screaming into the digital age, and I'm kind of there with you. Like I take it on the road as a necessity,
Yeah.
and obviously we'd all like to bring ours,
Yeah.
like fucking vintage amps. The other thing though I was saying about the aux that's amazing is that Sir reactive load did not have. What was it? Switchable ohmage, or were you stuck
The
on
think
8
it
or
was
two
stuck
notes
with eight
does
ohms.
not have.
But like
switchable
if you have a
ohms.
Bassman or any vintage amp, like
Yeah.
a lot of those are like 4 ohms, 5 ohms. Like
I mean, a Super's too.
yeah,
So, but with the aux, you can switch between 4, 8, and 16, and then you can get away with it on. I always forget this, but like, if it's 4 ohm amp, you can run at 8 ohms. Is that how it is? And an 8 ohm amp, you could run at 16.
You
or
can
still-
run less into more, but not the other way around.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
that's what they say.
That's no,
I have done both.
I've
and
done it.
Luckily, not ruined anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do not recommend.
and that's the thing. I've run. We both have a 73 Plexi. I mean, I run that thing. Fucking
is it a JMP or is it a
JMP. Yes,
Okay.
it's just like that.
the 50-watt joint?
Actually, I have the 100.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually swapped a Chieftain with Bukovac for that, like my first
Oh,
6
really?
months in town.
So I had a 74 50 watt that I just sold to Brett Papa, and then I found a 73 100 watt. Here's what was funny. The guy who owns Black Shag Vintage was selling it, and I went over to his place, and I was like, this thing's fucking clean. It sounds like, and he turned it up, and he was like, it was like chink chink, and I was like, that sounds like a Marshall. He barely played anything. He's like, are you sure you want this? And I was like, I got it. Trust me, because I'm going to hook this thing into the aux. It's going to be glorious.
And you're not going to have
And
to worry
it
about blowing your
sounds-
neighbors away
It
and
sounds
shit.
like, gosh golly, best Marshall tone you ever heard. It's perfect. It's
So this one's weird.
great. Okay.
This is what Book told me. He told me that the transformer burned up, and there's a 74 transformer in there.
Okay.
Presumably out of a Marshall. The information I got was a 74 transformer. I assumed that he meant out of another JMP. But I don't know that. And I've never had anyone look at it. It's the original glass that he gave to me. Which
Yeah.
It just keeps working. It sounds great. But when I got it, it broke up at like 1.
Yeah.
So, like, I found a way to use it, and it worked okay. And I was like, man, I was telling my buddy Boo, have you hung with Boo Massey?
Yeah.
Okay, so
absolutely.
I know that I know he talked to you about aux at one point.
Yeah,
and that's how he got
we
turned
share
on
gear
to
stuff all the time because when I was playing some shows with Lucy Silvas, we opened for Miranda.
Okay, right.
So we hung out. We hang out a fair bit. Yeah.
Okay, well, so he was like, you should do what I do with my Germino. He had a Club 40.
Yeah.
He still does great amps. He's like, I have a 12 AU7 in V1. Do that. And I just happened to, I was at a point in my life where I was buying random tube lots for like, $40 on eBay.
Can't do that now, right?
I don't think so. But
where are we going to get tubes from?
well, these are just like boxes of like just random stuff, like stuff out of radios, stuff out of organs, stuff out of PA, like school PAs, all kind of weird shit. I happened to have some vintage, nice Sylvania vintage 12 AU7s. I put one in there, and it immediately
clean up.
It turned it into a pedal platform.
Oh wow!
And my rig along for a year and a half was this amp into this 112.
Wow!
And I could play country gigs, I could play jazz gigs. I took it.
That's awesome.
I was running this and that 65 Pro stereo on a jazz gig.
Wow!
Or like I say jazz. It was a fusion gig.
Right.
And it was a game changer.
That's awesome.
Now I always have it set like that.
Yeah. It's crazy. You got that number. You have that number 2. You have them all dimed. Yeah. Oh, it's all dimed. Yeah.
It's the Van Halen.
It's the Van Halen.
Except for oh
the
no,
I
don't have any. I thought I had some bass dialed in, but I don't.
No. You don't need bass.
You can't use it like that.
Yeah.
Live anywhere that I'm playing usually. So
right.
It's not the aux is a game changer in that regard.
For that,
push all your amps. If they sound good broken up, you can now break them up and you can track it, and it sounds like you could have gone to Blackbird or Ocean Way or anywhere you want to go.
Absolutely.
Best studios you can think of. And that's really cool. And UA pisses me off in a whole lot of other different ways, but they got the aux box right than a motherfucker.
They sure did. Absolutely.
Well, so we were kind of talking earlier. I'm running the way I'm running mine into the Big Sky. So I never even considered that, but I assume you probably know Ren Anderson. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he was telling me that he puts a Palmer PDI CTC between his aux and his interface.
Oh, wait a second. So Ren has an aux?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to call him out because he said it sounded like shit when it first came out. And I was like...
He was probably...
I was like, that's on you, bro.
He was like the rest of us.
He's like, I don't know how it sounds with an EL84 amp. I was like, plug it into it and you'll find out.
He didn't want to like it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like it. I'm talking to you.
I'm serious. I remember.
Calling you out,
he
Ren.
said that, man. You said that to me. He did. And I was like, this is a game changer.
When Boo told me about it, I was like, there's no fucking way that sounds right. I'm not even interested. I don't want to hear anything more about it.
Here's the thing.
And here we are.
I'm going to say this. I say this on record. If you do your homework and you find out who James Santiago is, you will know that anything that man touches turns to gold. These pedals here, the length... See, I'm privy to some things that the average person isn't privy to because I get to watch, I get to see emails occasionally and I get to see some training videos and things like that. The length of and the depth that these people put into this stuff, like this Starlight Echo Station, the UA pedal, they're built on James's personal Echoes, EP3s, and he has 3 of them. He has one that's brand new. He has one that's kind of worn, and he has one that's really falling apart. Modeled in that because he, bought a box of 25 or 50 Echoplex tapes in 1987 and kept them so that he could model someday an EP3, and that's what's in that pedal. I don't know a company on this planet that goes to those lengths like that. And he said when he did the aux, he goes, when I modeled a 57, he goes, I didn't model a 57. He goes, I modeled a bucket of them and tried them all. Everyone. They bought 100 Memory Man pedals to demo, to find which one really did the breakup right when you push it into the red.
Interesting.
It's like that on all of it, like the phaser in the Astra.
The hardware sounds great, man. I've never used
that's
the plug.
It's the brainchild. They have a gold mine in that, man. I'm a huge fan. He'll never accept the fact that I'm such a fanboy of that dude.
Would you please make a note about James Santiago?
Go check him out.
I'm
He's
looking that
brilliant,
shit
man.
up.
So
I'll
you
put
can
links to whatever I find.
The best thing is there was a live JHS show that he did with Tor and Tor. I can't leave Tor Morganson out. Tor used to work for TC Electronics, and he works very closely with James on developing these products. I just know because I see James talk about the lineage of this, but Tor is equally as adept at like designing this shit. You know, James, I've just known because I've known about James since he worked at Voodoo Labs. Everybody was like, James Santiago, great player, great mind, great tones. He knows what he's doing. And he's the brains behind a lot of the stuff with Tor.
Let me ask you this question, and I've never talked about this pedal with anyone on this podcast before. You just mentioning Voodoo Labs, and you said the word tone, and my brain immediately thought of this. I used to have their tremolo pedal.
Yeah.
I didn't use it for tremolo. I just used the fatness that the of the pedal gave you.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that pedal?
I never had that one. I only had a couple Voodoo Labs pedals.
Which one?
It's the Voodoo Lab tremolo pedal.
But those pedals are great.
Yeah, it's like 20 years old.
No, I know which one you're talking about. I haven't used
the
it.
Octavia, the Chorus. I had both Sparkle Drives. I had the Giggity.
The Sparkle Drives were great.
Sparkle Drive was a great TS9 kind of thing, which I hate TS9s
I was
anyway.
just about to say, I hate those, so I
but
never
that
had
one was a good one. That was a good pedal. Yeah.
You know, all the talk about
we hate TS9s because there's a lot of other choices now. If it was 1994, we would all have a Tube Screamer on our board.
Well, and that's why I had all the iterations in the late 90s trying to.
Me too.
You know, I'm from Dallas, Stevie Ray
Ray
Vaughan
Vaughan
fan, and I was always like, yeah, I don't know how he did that. And obviously, it's something about the combination, but Boo was telling me that he played someone's pedal that was within like 80 numbers of Stevie Ray Vaughan's, and he said he's never before or since played a pedal that reacted like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't know what he plugged it into. So most of what we like about recorded, most of what I'll speak for myself, excuse me. Most of what I like about recorded TS9, TS 80, any of those good sounds, whatever. They're almost always like into a super. Like that's the thing, right? Is that pedal, however they pair together. I've never owned a super.
Yeah.
I've only plugged it into like a matchless, and
that's not going to work.
It didn't work at all. It was terrible. Yeah. And you know what else sounds terrible through that? A pedal that I use all the time is the ODR1.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible.
That's another thing is ODR1s to me all sound different.
They do have a lot of character.
I had two that were completely different. I had two vintage ones that were completely different. And not just pot gain values or anything. They just, one had a vibe, one didn't. That's all.
Mine is on my baseboard now, and
I don't use an ODR one that much.
Only on my baseboard.
I have the Shanks Vemoram on another board, which kind of does that for me, which I'm fine with. I don't know. I'm kind of I have this board that's like, aside from the Lightspeed, it's kind of the anti-Nashville board.
Sure.
But it's funny, the Lightspeed, like, I saw John Osborne using one 6 years ago, and I'd never heard of it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it just sounds like you turned your amp up." And from that point, I bought one, and that's how long I've been using one.
Yeah, I think I've had mine since like 2014.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's the cool thing about Nashville is like shit kind of generates here. You know what I mean?
True.
And it goes out to the rest of the world. You know, pretty funny. But I'm kind of like.
All the cool stuff on my board is stuff that I saw Boo using. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds great. I'm going to get one.
I like Boo uses.
He get the Gladio.
Does he? I didn't know that.
I took him to pick it up at
cool.
What's it called over on Old Hickory in Old Hickory, whatever that store's called.
Yeah,
store over by your house.
Corner Music? No, that's Madison.
No,
is it in Old Hickory?
It's over by you.
Okay, Corner Music is the only one I know of.
Past you, but
yeah.
From here anyway.
I have the dual channel Gladio too, which is also cool.
No.
But I like that one just for the size. You know, it's cool. It's my Robin Ford sound. You know, I'm just gonna say it.
Hey man, that's a cool.
It's
that's
just
a cool
what
sound.
it is. Yeah, it's just fun, and I like Emilio at Cornerstone is a really really great guy, and was kind enough to send me those pedals. So shout out to Emilio, and I love all these guys. Nick Greer, the J Rocket guys. They just sent me a new pedal that will be released soon, and they want me to do a video on, which that'll be fun. So
hell yeah,
yeah.
Chris and those
Chris
guys.
is great, and Zach.
That's where Mark always stays when he
Yeah,
comes here.
yeah. Well, Chris doesn't live here anymore.
Oh really?
He lives in Minneapolis. He took his kid up there to play
no
hockey.
way.
Yeah, his kid's like a hockey phenom.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
and like legit. Like Wayne Gretzky was like,
he moved away in the last year. Then.
yeah, it was in the last year. Yeah,
'Cause I-
yeah. Wayne Gretzky was like, your kid's got it.
Wow.
From what I understand.
all I need to hear.
Yeah,
Well, that's dope, man.
yeah.
What is this top right pedal? I don't recognize that one.
So that's the Dod Carcosa Fuzz, and it is the
okay.
best fuzz for like $80 you can get. Really, really cool. Because it acts as an overdrive. Or
Did you turn Ford onto that?
No, he turned me on to it. So
Okay,
that's when
that's-
Ford.
I think I remember
when Ford was repping the
talking about
Digitech DoD stuff. He had all
That's
that
what it
stuff,
is.
and
That's what it was.
And I got a hold of one of those, and I still use the shit out of it. You know, because you can get. My favorite thing is blending fuzz with overdrive. So like the light speed's on now. So if I kick it on. So you can kind of.
It's that throaty kind of thing.
But you can.
Separation still.
Yeah. So I like it to be kind of
That sounds like $1 million.
kind of gnarly, you know, and it does it. So the other one that I don't know if they're going to re-release it with a different name, but XTS made a fuzz called the Iridium, and it was like you could turn the fuzz all the way up and it was totally usable. It was awesome, and I have one of those. It's
Hey, don't
great.
put that down yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, talk about this guitar, man.
All right, so this is my Novo Miras J.
Is this the Corey model?
I wish. I would never make a signature model just because I would change it probably in 6 months.
I'm
People would be
calling it
pissed.
the Corey Congilio
Okay,
model.
so their Miras J, it's their Dennis Novo design guitar. It's their classic body, but it's semi-hollow, jazz master style trim. It's actually a mastery bridge, Lawler gold foils, and it is their bodies are made of tempered pine, which is kind of interesting.
Tempered, does that
That is-
mean
it
it's
looked like
partially
pine.
cooked or cooked at a particular?
I believe so.
It's like a sous vide.
Sous vide pine. But it's I never had that's not true. I have gold foils and other guitars, but
I've never had one, man. I'm getting one. That shit sounds
Dude, it's so
good.
fun.
It sounds so
Yeah.
good. All the character, all the low end and the top end that you would want, but like plenty of like natural mid, like saturation to it, you know. And a lot of that's your hands. You've got really great sounding hands
that's
as well.
very kind of you. But like what I was saying,
I bet if you picked up
Linden-
any one of these guitars, you would still sound like that.
what I was saying earlier was that like I have this songwriter gig coming up where I have to do a lot of that kind of stuff and shit tons of verb.
And that's the U8 Golden that you just turned on.
Yeah, and that's a preset I have for the what is it, the Lexicon 2. I always forget the model. 224. Why did I know that? Lexicon 224. So that old digital reverb that was, you know, you go into
There's
Blackbird.
only so many numbers we can remember,
I know.
man.
On Blackbird, the remote on the console, it's doing that. With some Echoplex. That's actually Memory Man. At like 500 milliseconds.
There's so much in the frequency spectrum coming through right now, all the lows and the highs. It's like extremely high fidelity.
A lot of
sounding.
clarity.
Yeah. So then you can go, this will be...
And I just mean like your overall sound. I'm not even necessarily talking about the pedal.
So that's the Echoplex, but with a tube reverb.
And the light speed was on for all that? Is that an always on pedal for you?
Nah, it depends on the gig. And here's like their trim. And I have a preset for a vibe. Yeah, good stuff. They make good shit.
Yeah, they do. It sounds like it.
Like I said, because... So anyway, this guitar is pretty fun. I just basically said, I want this color, I want these pickups, go crazy, and I want this pick guard. And, you know, I ordered it just in the right time where, like, nobody can get pick guards anymore, and nobody can get all this materials and supply chain shit, you know.
Man, so I guess you just can't get anything anymore because every time I go anywhere, they're out of all.
I
of
know.
It.
I gotta.
What the fuck?
I could not believe we ordered. You know, I moved into my house 3 years ago and I barely have any furniture, and I ordered a dining room table and chairs about 11 weeks ago, and I got the table today, which I thought was really quick.
God dang.
You know, I mean, I ordered a couch, and it was like 8 months to get that. I mean, it was a custom made kind of thing. You pick out your color and your stuff like that, but
that's a long time to wait.
We got lucky. We got spoiled, is what I mean.
Well, that's always good.
So,
Deer and beer.
Something I've been finding myself wanting to know from dudes lately, dudes and chicks. What does Jay Kenji Alt say? Guys, gals, and non-binary pals. What I want to know is, what are you listening to when you listen to something?
Gosh.
Do you listen to music? I know a lot of musicians that don't listen to music recreationally.
That's actually making me feel good because I haven't been an avid listener much lately because I'm doing it all day long, you know, and I'm listening to stuff I would have to learn for a gig or whatever, and that is my active listening. That being said, I go in spurts of like listening, deep diving for projects. Like I just put out this course where I kind of found a lick from like a lesser known blues player. By lesser known, the ones that aren't like, you know, focused on as much. Like, oh, somebody's going to say, oh, Clapton.
No one named King.
Yeah, exactly. No one named King. Is that? So I did do Freddie King, but like, you know, Otis Rush and Hubert Sumlin and Roy Buchanan and Rory Gallagher. And so I did a lot of that stuff. And that's kind of like my history lesson listening. I did that.
Such good stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
And then I, little dog barking action.
Yeah.
It sounds like my house.
I'm surprised it took this long.
But, you know, I'll fire up, you know, generally I'll go on like okay, I'm going to listen to some David Bowie today, or I'm going to listen to some Talking Heads, or I'm going to listen to listen to a little bit of Rye Cooter. I bought a Cooter caster. I have no idea what I'm doing. I haven't
Those are crazy.
I haven't gotten it yet, but it should be here in a couple days, probably next week. And I just wanted a guitar for slide that wasn't one of my guitars. It was already set up for that, you know.
That's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah. So it's weird. I always feel like kind of guilty when somebody asks me that, because I used to be the guy who was on everything. Like as soon as it came out, I was devouring it. I had to have the new this record, the new that record.
Sure.
You know, I used to be that in the country scene, and now it's like, well, it fucking sounds the same, so I know what to expect. You know what I mean? That being said, I also like to be surprised. You know, I like to be like, if I got called today for, let's pick somebody's gig, like Casey Musgraves, right? I'd be like, cool, this is awesome music that I've really not listened to that much. So it's this like sort of cool like being invigorated by it.
Sure.
You know, because when I first moved to town and before that, I would listen to everything feeling like I needed to be prepared. If I got called for that gig, I needed to know the music, you know. But I love, you know, doing a little bit of vinyl stuff, and I spin The Cars a lot. I spin The Stranger by Billy Joel a lot, you know, like fucking killer songs, you know, like so yeah, it's a little
I'm on board with all of that. The vinyl you just mentioned.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. But I listen to a podcast too. Like I spent a lot of time listening to the Talking Sopranos podcast, where it was Steve Schirripa and Michael Imperioli talking about the show, and I was listening to the Seth Godin podcast on the way up here, because I can play music. I know what I like. I know what I think is good. I know I can always go back and listen to some great old music, but I want to figure out ways to kind of broaden my myself as a person, and reading and listening to podcasts and hearing different ways people think and their outlooks helps my musicianship.
It's certainly hard to balance all that, but because I do the same thing. But
I mean, you're a really active musician, so you're probably learning music all the time. And
I'm honestly not, man. I just know shitloads of music.
Yeah.
I mean, I played with Charlie Worsham last week. I had to learn music for him. That's the first time I've had to learn music in several months. Just
well, doing the Broadway stuff too. Yeah, you probably have a catalog
sessions
of shit.
are one thing. I'm reading a chart, but like,
right.
As far as like learning music for like different gigs, that's not really what I've been doing. Like I play with the same few people, and then again, I played a one-off with Charlie last week, and that's the first thing I think I've learned since like November. I'm a hopeless addict. I listen to music and like yesterday. I listened to music on my way to the session. I listened to some between the session and the gig, and on the way home from the gig, I didn't want to hear anything.
Yeah,
but like. I'm otherwise, I like to listen to music, man. I just my brain, left to its own devices, will get me in trouble. So I just try to like seek out things to do with it and like things to listen to, and I find all kinds of like cool music. And the kind of music I listen to lately is like, sample drums and like filtery keys playing like jazz hop kind of shit. I love that shit, man.
I mean, I remember when I went through a period. Awesome. I remember when I went through a period and I was listening to DJ Shadow and Logic.
Gideon just told me to listen to one of those.
It's like
records.
it's incredible music that somebody created by putting stuff together, But
it's a different language, a different way to look at it.
And I guess what I'm trying to work on lately is, can I create something that doesn't sound like something I've heard before, or. And I'm not saying that like I'm putting on like 10 weird pedals and playing one note and it's not like anything I've heard. I'm saying like it's in here. I wanted to get it out and it doesn't sound like the same old shit I've been playing.
Sounds like you.
Yeah. I'm ready to do that. Do it. My favorite thing is when I heard Wayne Krantz say, for 40 years I worked on trying to sound like another man. And then I wanted to stop doing that. And I was like, I get
He said that like what, 93?
He said that in like mid-90s. Right. So... And damn it, if he doesn't sound like Wayne Krantz.
And then he also said,
I was surprised not to see you at the show.
I've seen and watched so much Wayne that I was like, I think I'm good.
I mean,
I went to the last time he was at Sweet City Winery. I sat by myself
I've seen
up in the
him
balcony.
every time he's been to town.
Yeah, I think we were there at the last one too.
I've seen him every time he's been, except for no, I've seen him every time he's been here. I missed him in Dallas once.
Yeah,
but did you? Being from Pittsburgh, did you make the trek to New York to watch him back in the day?
I didn't do that, but so I was friends with a lot of cats that I used to teach at a guitar shop, and across the street was a drum shop. And anybody that knows anything knows that those are two different things. A real drum shop is like, I walked over there on my lunch breaks because they listened to the good music and the guys were really talking about really good players. And there was a drummer there that was friendly with Keith Carlock back in the early 2000s. And that's how I found out who Krantz was and all this kind of stuff. And just realized that, like, oh, there's music that's on a completely different planet.
Did you ever see, and it seems like they're harder to find on YouTube these days, but there used to be some videos of him playing with Steely Dan in the late 80s. When he's wearing like a green sleeveless T-shirt, and he is fucking shredding.
Dude, that and Randy Brecker.
Well, that's the thing. Only Wayne Krantz would be bored of the Steely Dan gig.
Well, for sure.
I mean, come on, he's so amazing.
There's another video. Can you make a note to Wayne Krantz and just say Wayne Krantz in France, and I'll know what video.
Wayne Krantz.
There's this video of him and Keith and Tim from like 2003 or something, and he's in, I think it's Marziac, Marziac, France, and they're doing some sort of like clinic and then a show.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
And he looks super young, but his hair is long.
Yeah, and
he's talking. Someone's interviewing him from behind the camera. And
was it like in a classroom full of people? Or like
it was like on a sound stage.
I think I've seen that one too.
The interview is just him and the camera guy. And he's like, and he's got a guitar on. He's like, I used to think about music like this, and he played a thing. And then he's like, and now I think about it like this, and he played like the Wayne Krantz that we know today. And it was just like, holy shit, this man done reinvented himself.
He reinvented it
musically.
In a way that he can switch on and off.
Yeah,
he ain't switched it off in a long time, and I'm thankful.
No,
for
but
it
I mean, to be able to demonstrate this is
sure.
Yeah, but the discipline that takes to say, I don't care if I eat, I'm going to do this. That's why I wonder, like, how long did it take Charlie Hunter to get that good? Like,
dude, that's a whole fucking.
you know what I'm saying?
To
Like,
Well, here's the
invent
deal about
that
Charlie
whole
Hunter.
thing.
He can play. He can separate either of those instruments and go do gigs if he needs to eat.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's a
He can pick up a P bass or he can pick up a guitar and go do whatever.
yeah, it's cool. I mean, I realized that an early.
Or he can just do both and get double pay.
There you go. There you go. No, I realized that I was like, I was chasing the fusion thing for a while, and I was like, you know what? Nobody's coming to these gigs. I want to play in front of
Dude,
some
that's what
people.
happened when I moved to Chicago. I like got done with like jazz school, and I like did a few jazz gigs, and they were like $50 a piece. And I was like, well, not paying rent with this.
Yeah, and
The landscape's a little different these days with Snarky Puppy
Well,
and then Letary and those
if
guys.
you really get after it, you can pay your rent with jazz. It's just a whole different thing.
I mean, you got to move to one of a handful of places.
sure, no. I'm joking as well.
But I mean, that used to absolutely pre-Snarky Puppy. If you weren't in some sort of like a legendary fusion,
If you weren't
act,
in an electric
you weren't
band
making
or
any money, bro.
No, that's totally true. That's totally true.
You weren't making any money.
I mean, I remember
you were, but you were doing it in wedding bands.
Yeah, exactly. And you're playing a cocktail hour,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
nobody was listening to you anyway.
And, but done a lot of that.
No, we go. Yeah, sure. So have I, and it's like you go through stages where it was like, I want to play to some people that like. I mean, I used to travel from Pittsburgh to West Virginia and do a 90-minute country gig which was an hour away, and make like $300, and there was like free beer and girls, and it was like, okay, this is totally worth it. As of me playing, the cafe somewhere where there's like 4 people,
Coffee shop. People
I'm telling you,
to turn down.
I'm so glad you said that. I was gonna go there. We set up one time in this place. We were gonna play our fusion shit, right? And the drummer set his shit up, and he took his hi-hats and he went, and I'm telling you, that's all he played. And the hostess came over and said, "Could you please turn it down a little bit?" And I was like, "This is it. I can't do this anymore."
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I watched it happen.
Those gigs are fun sometimes though. Like
yeah.
I had
No doubt.
up until like maybe 6 months ago, I had like a standing like coffee shop jazz gig.
Yeah.
That I mean, it didn't pay a whole ton of money, but it was like
I do it now
super
for
fun,
nothing,
man. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Like I did it for basically like
that's about all you can get paid for.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
But when you're 22 and you're like, I'm going to do this for a living, this is my career, and I told my parents I was going to do, you are just busting your ass to try to make it happen, and you're also trying to make a statement and be a player. And perspective changes a lot.
It's a cool thing. I started feeling like jazz gigs were. On jazz gigs, I started feeling like the music itself can be pretty selfish.
Yeah.
And that's why nobody
self-indulgent.
Self-indulgent, and that's why. And I got tired of like the, look at me, what I can at what I can do kind of thing, and then like.
Well, that's the deal with Wayne, which is so great, is because if you watch those interviews, Wayne talks about his approach to improvising, meaning something that is spontaneously happening between a group of few people that is going to a place that was not achievable before that very moment. And that's part of what jazz should be. Now, the other thing that I think I heard a drummer that I really respect many years ago say, that jazz neglects they forgot their audience. And if you think about it, Count Basie's jazz, Duke Ellington is jazz. They had an audience. They had dancers. They were there to entertain.
I was about to say that was an entertainment endeavor. It
That's
wasn't
something
an exercise
I've heard Mike Leake say a bunch. Is that like basically like we want to make jazz that people can dance to,
right?
Something you can shake your booty
and that's
to.
why the swing band I was in was so fun. We would play these swing dances, and there'd be 200 people swing dancing, and it looked like some sort of like juke joint from the 30s. And it was absolutely, and everybody, the people who are out trying to outdo each other are the dancers, not the musicians. We're there to make them. I mean, when we would do,
people are spinning, you're in the
we'd
zone.
play, and we'd go from Take the A Train to like Mambo No. 5 to Begin the Begin to Ladies of Tramp, and they would just I mean, there would be like battles and the whole nine, like they'd be going at it. We'd play in these like dance schools and stuff, and it was awesome. It was something that was pretty special for my musical upbringing.
You talk about dancing, and like that was one of the weirdest things for me when I moved to Nashville, the home of country music from Texas.
Yeah.
And like in Texas, every gig I'm doing, like 40% of the building is reserved for the dance floor.
Right.
And I get here and no one's dancing.
Yeah.
No one's, I mean, they're listening, but they're listening because it's so loud and they're crammed so close to the stage.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of Broadway when I first moved here, and I still play down there, but once, twice a week, not once, twice a day.
Yeah, right.
And that was just like shell shock. It was like, because that's very real feedback. It's like you can tell when it feels right because there's energy. You can physically see the energy in the people on the dance floor. And like another thing about that is, you play ballads, you play things and compound, meter. You play 3 and you play 6. And,
yep.
You don't do that here anymore, really.
No,
I mean, we just do a little 6/8 because everybody wants to hear Tennessee whiskey. You play downtown, but
yeah, well, or trying to think of another one. But you're right. It's about keeping people up, and I remember sitting in one time at Tin Roof in Midtown, and we weren't on stage trying to figure out what to play for more than 45 seconds, and the manager was on us, telling us, "Come on, let's go. You guys got to play." I'm like, oh, this is not cool.
Yeah, that's definitely not cool. And I've definitely been in those situations where managers like, hey, we need party music. It's like, I just played 2 hours of party music. What are you talking about?
Right.
These people are asking for these songs. I didn't decide that it was time to play No One Else on Earth by the Judds. Someone asked for it. You know what I'm saying? Great song. Love that song. I didn't come up with it. Someone asked for it.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry
we're here
for the mid-tempo Rocky song.
Yeah, right. Doesn't have to be Hicktown every time.
Let me ask you the stupid questions, man.
Okay.
And
my answers will probably be
you
more
can
than stupid.
Decide for yourself if they're stupid or not. The first question I've asked everyone. From there, it'll just kind of depend. I just kind of pick them out of this list that I curate pretty much every week. I'm like deleting and adding. So Metallica or Megadeth is the first question.
Ooh.
It's going to be some either ors here right off the bat.
I'm going to say that I know more Metallica, but I'd probably prefer Megadeth. Metallica was one of my first rock shows ever. Metallica, during that Metal Church tour where James got his arm caught on fire. And,
the pyrotechnic fail.
Yeah, exactly. I saw them before that happened. It was on the same tour.
Yeah,
Black Album, all that shit.
I love both, but I like pinning them against each other because that's what all people will often try to do to you.
Yeah.
So we're no different there. Miles or Coltrane? Excuse me.
Miles.
That's often the choice as well. I think
just for the breadth of stuff and the impact. It
was definitely reached a larger audience.
Yeah, and
I think I like personally Coltrane better. But that's just for me. But
I get it.
I understand why most other people think the other way, and that happens to me a lot. Surprise. Matheny or Schofield?
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm going to take Schofield for more of the Miles reason, because although Schofield with the the Speaking Now live and then the trio shit and all is amazing. Anybody that has Richard Bona in a band, I'm a fan of.
Richard Bona's a bad man.
But Schofield, the breadth of his career is so freaking cool. What I mean? Like, I remember seeing him once in Pittsburgh, and I was like, shame on me for ever forgetting how amazing you are. And he was like, oh man, thanks. And I was like, you are, like, he was so fucking good. It was incredible. And
he doesn't ever make mistakes.
He never makes mistakes.
He always sounds exactly like himself.
And that's the thing that and not that Pat doesn't, of course. Pat's a genius. But Sco is just all vibe. I mean, the A-Go-Go record changed my life.
That is a very accessible record.
It's anybody can listen to that and be like, oh, this is fucking cool. But I was listening to Blue Matter and all that stuff before that.
Dude, Blue Matter is the fucking shit.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
I mean, and oh, gosh.
That's a great record.
What's the one?
Yeah. Dude, I haven't heard somebody bring that album up in a minute.
I forget which one that is. Anyway, but like that, I don't know. I was more of a Sco guy, and it was for me Sco, Stern, Mike Henderson, or Scott Henderson. Mike Henderson's also a great blues player, but those were like the three guys that I kind of listened to the most.
That's dope.
Yeah.
They're all valid. I just I'm just
no, that's a good one.
I'm
That's
pitting
a really
people
good one.
against each other, man.
Yeah,
We're
man.
here to divide people on the Beer podcast. David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
I hate this one. But
It's a new one.
It is.
You know what? I'm going to say Sammy. Fuck
I
it.
respect that.
Fuck it, because
That's some great music.
better songs and a legit singer. But I will say this: David Lee Roth, that podcast he recently had with Joe Rogan, he had some really great insight about being a singer. And I've been working on my singing a lot more.
He's been on there
And
twice, right?
It was a recent one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the recent
one
one.
where-
I've seen the first one where he
the one-
seemed like he was like grinding his teeth with
He's
cocaine.
he's crazier now than he was that because he's kind of that old guy that laughs at his own jokes in a real psychotic way. You know, that's like
He embodies the faceless that he's done.
I don't know about that, but I don't know. I don't know what kind. I don't know. I mean, I
The Balance record
shouldn't
was
say
a badass record.
Balance is great, and I shouldn't say Sammy because the prices at Cabo Wabo are way too high. But in any case,
Yeah, Sammy, what's up with that, bro?
but I'm a fan
Email
of
us.
I'm a fan of the writing and that era in a big way. But I mean, Roth is kind of undeniable in his own way.
Those
I did
records
see
are-
the Roth tour, the last tour
You
that
did?
they did. I did see that. Yeah.
I have never seen. Actually, that's not true. I saw Van Halen for like a few minutes. Somebody snuck me in, and then I had to split to a gig back in Dallas a long time
That
ago.
was like when I saw McCartney at the festival in Austin City Limits Festival. I was like
yeah.
a mile away, but I could still see him, and it was awesome. So that was like I got to see SL McCartney.
Have I told my Van Halen story on this podcast?
I don't think you have.
I've got a funny Van Halen. Oh no, I did tell it. I can't remember what episode. So it starts sad and gets happy. But I was at Dimebag's funeral.
Wow.
And I was standing outside, me and my buddy Boss, and we're just like standing. We're literally standing outside, side by side. There's a double door right here. We're standing. It's like a canopy, and we're just standing there. We're not talking. There's no one else there. Eddie Van Halen, wearing coveralls, comes through the doors, and he's just walking out, and he walks through the doors, and he sees this, and he like jumps back, and he goes, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" And then he kept walking, but we made him physically jump into the air and then tell us, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Nice.
And that's my Eddie Van Halen.
That's your brush with Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Steve Vai or Joe Satriani?
Vi.
Correct answer.
All day.
There is one correct
All
answer to
day.
that question. Petrucci or Gilbert?
I'm not really knowledgeable of either enough, but I'd have to say Paul Gilbert just for the Racer X Mr. Big stuff.
I
You know,
was
if I
trying
was
to
going to
come up
listen to
with-
one on a desert island with a gun to my head, it would be that all day long. I can't do the Dream Theater thing.
What's Paul Gilbert had a record, something about Castle. Anyway, it was just basically like a exercise etude gone song.
Right.
Something about a castle. I'll figure that. Lyndon, can you make a note about Paul Gilbert castle song?
Yep.
Anyway, I used to teach a bunch, 43 students a week, not 60, but a fucking lot. And one of the other guys was like working on that one day in
Yeah.
his room, and I walked over there. I was like, "What is that shit?" And he's like, "Paul Gilbert." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Paul Gilbert?" And anyway, I fell down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Geddy Lee or John Paul Jones?
I mean, I'd have to go John Paul Jones.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah. I
don't
was
think that's
never
the-
a Rush guy, period. Do I respect three guys being able to like fill the stadium in Brazil with songs about dragons? Like, yeah, much respect. Like,
It's you're
like-
confusing content there because it's not so much
spittle
about
on your
dragons. That's the Dream Theater thing.
Okay.
That's dragons and ogres. Rush is more about like medieval philosophy. and
right. But I mean, that was a time when you could play that
nuclear
shit and
energy.
get on the radio with a trio. You know, what I mean, like pretty badass.
I'm trying to. I'll tell you this: if you had a suggestion for a better head-to-head battle for John Paul Jones, that everyone's gonna. I was thinking like John Entwistle.
I was just
going to
say that,
but
John
I don't
Entwistle.
think that. I don't think
Is
that.
it too close?
I just don't think. Like, I think it's a stretch for people to know who John Paul Jones is that are not. I mean, let's face
Yeah.
it. There's dorks listening to this show because I am certainly a dork. So they probably know.
What are you
John
gonna say,
Paul
Bill
Jones.
Wyman? I mean,
I don't know. Chris Squire.
maybe. To me, then it's Chris Squire against Entwistle or Chris Squire against.
Well, I thought my original thought was like McCartney.
Yeah,
but
he's too multi-instrumentalist for me.
Yeah, about to say, and he sings, and it's just there's just not. It's not.
He
the
played
same.
bass by like default in some ways.
Yeah, that's true. But real fucking good though.
Yeah,
real fucking good.
No doubt.
Jazz or metal?
Jazz, because you just don't improvise in metal enough for me.
Same. I love both.
I love like metal is awesome. Like I love metal, but I can't remember stuff that much. So that's hard for me to remember all that stuff.
I hear you,
because I remember I went to a kid's house once. He had a Kick-Ass Jackson, and he could play a couple really cool Megadeth things, a couple cool Metallica things. And I'd get on there, and he was like, you're just making shit up. And I was like, yeah, exactly, because I was improvising. And you could tell those two worlds were so apart that he didn't get it, and that was totally fine.
Well, and it's certainly a different kind of playing, and I love both, but left to a choice between the two, give me the thing where I can do whatever I want.
Exactly.
Every time.
Exactly.
So I kind of hope that that's what everybody chooses.
Yeah.
Don't do it because that's what I said. Live or session?
Good call. Each one has its merit.
They're both great, but you have to choose.
If I have to choose, I'm going to say live, where I would normally say session, because you know what I miss? Gig chops.
That's a very real thing.
When you're playing those 3 and 4 nights in a row,
and sometimes you can't hear yourself real good, and you got to rely on your technique.
Not only that, but like the ideas, the conduit from your brain to your hands is sharper. Like, a few years ago, we used to do this blues gig at Puckett's every Thursday, 1 day a week. If I did that gig 2 weeks in a row, I was 50% better than I was the previous week, because the bugs got worked out. You know what I mean? And I don't get to do that enough anymore. And gig chops are a thing. That's why if you're on a tour for like 20 dates, you're at date like 17, you're like, oh shit, I wish this wasn't over.
Totally.
Because you're just starting to feel good.
I have the same, I was just talking to somebody, it may have been you, I can't remember, about like set length. It's like, I don't want to play a 30-minute set, bro.
Yeah.
I'd rather give me 90 or 120 minutes every time over
Settle
30.
in a little bit.
Yeah, there's like a natural arc. You can find you find your golden ratio.
That sounds dirty.
We're running out of time on this, so I'm gonna
fire them off
loose and get you out of here. Single coil or humbucker?
Humbucker.
Volume pedal before or after gain?
Before.
Do you use compression live?
Yes.
Jazz or precision?
Precision.
What's your favorite pedal?
Greer Lightspeed all day.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, 3 Desert Island records.
Top of my head, 3 Desert Island records. Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris. Teatro by Willie Nelson. Both produced by Daniel Lanois.
Yeah, both Lanois.
And then maybe Peace Beyond Passion by Michelle Ndegeocello.
Oh, okay.
Or, any random fusion record in there. But that's it right now. We're on this is the
You're
countdown,
literally
so.
the first person to ever go gun to your head style.
Thank you, by
without
the way.
Rob being like, come on.
I had to yell at last week's guest.
Whatever.
I love you, Adam. I got one final question for you. You're here, and the question, it has its own zone, and we're calling it the King's Court, and you have to pick Albert, Freddie, BB, Earl, or King's X.
Well, say the Albert, Freddie,
BB, Earl, or King's X. Those are the 5 kings that are now in this category. But you only get one.
Freddie.
One king to rule them all.
Freddie.
Great answer.
Deer and beer.
Okay, so we were talking earlier, we briefly mentioned it, but you are launching, or you have just launched, 3 days ago?
Yeah.
Your website.
Right.
And on your website, people will find all of your teaching videos.
Right.
And there's, how do you have it worked out?
So I have it my personal website is still there, and that's going to be devoted to me and artist stuff.
You, the hireable player and man of many parts.
Exactly, but and tour dates and all that kind of shit.
Okay,
but
excellent.
This is a website I developed as basically like my brick and mortar lesson shop. It's called workingclassguitar.com.
Oh, hell yeah, great.
And I currently have 4 to 5 courses on there, and uploading more.
Is this all new content?
No, there's some new content, and then there's some stuff that I've gotten sort of licensed back from the partners I did it with.
Okay,
but it's going to be
cool.
the place now that all new content will live.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a number of different ways you can purchase courses. You can sign up for a monthly subscription.
Sure.
And if you hear this podcast and you use the code YTDEAL, which is the YouTube deal normally that I would give, it's 30% off of the membership, and that membership gets you any video on the site. Now, the membership also includes a section called Ask Corey Anything, where I put up lessons with questions that people ask me, and then it also has something called our Working Class Guitar VIP, where we're going to start doing monthly Zoom lessons with a group. So
that's cool.
if we could have 200 people on there, talking about a concept. So that's kind of up in the ante with regard to the subscription status type stuff. Now we're just getting started. The first group session will probably be next Friday, the 18th of March, when you're listening to this. But it's going to be once a month. So it's a platform that a lot of folks are starting to do. Not a lot, just a few, but the group Zoom thing is really what's going to make your, $10 to $15 a month worth.
Yeah, like live hands-on access to
literally.
Your,
so
your
you
brain.
can't have a one-on-one with me, but you can have a group with me, which is really cool.
Sure.
It's pretty fun.
You wait your turn and politely ask your questions.
Let's hope so.
Work through the same content. We're like you said, it'll be a theme to the lesson, presumably.
Sometimes there will be other times it'll be sort of a grab bag worth of things,
Okay.
Because I've done a lot of live streaming on YouTube and I've done a lot of teaching, and it's pretty cool. People get really rewarded by that, and I thought, man, it'd be cool to do it in a Zoom style where those people that exclusively sign up to be involved in that can have a stake in it.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
that's great. So, are you? When you're thinking about the lessons, is it like something where you're like, you sit down and you think, okay, what's a useful piece of information for somebody trying to move to the next level? Or
beer delivery,
my man. or is it, you hear something and you're like, oh, you know what? That would be badass to break down and get to the bottom of.
It's a little bit of that. I've also done like a lot of research over the years. I mean, I've been doing this online for over 10 years, and you hear from a lot of people that want to hear certain things. You're like, I'd love it if you did this. And the demographic that I work with is usually older players that are retired or just picking it up for the first time. So it's that late beginner to early intermediate level kind of thing. Sure. But what I just discovered today actually was like, I can put some more challenging stuff on Instagram and also cater to that, but then also have them come to my site, and the lesson can live there too. That's so cool. There's different things I'm thinking about all the time with regard, and the teaching makes me better, so I just want to keep doing it. I don't want to do anything to just get better, and if somebody wants to pay me a nominal fee to help them, I'm happy to do it too.
Well, I mean, and it's like it's almost the preferred method of doing things here in this, for lack of a better term, COVID age and time when gas prices are as high as they've ever been, and just all the different problems that we're finding in just like general existence as compared to what bandwidth we're used to move about this world. It has been restricted somewhat.
Yeah.
Or, at least for a lot of working players and things like that. So the only site that I've ever used online, and I consider myself a pretty fucking good guitar player. I've been doing it professionally for 20 years, and when I went to, I was looking for something, and it's like, I don't know any teachers. I took lessons from Jack Pearson. Jack's got a lot that he can offer, but he's not a teacher. He's a really good guitar player, and there's plenty to be learned from sitting down with somebody who's good and be like, "Oh, let's play these changes," which is what a lesson is with Jack. You sit down. He's like, "What do you want to play? What are you into?" And you play something, and he's like, "Have you thought about playing something like this?" And he'll just like give you a bunch of options, and you record it and whatever.
Yeah,
but that's not for me or for the inquisitive mind, which is a lot of what it sounded like you just described as far as your demographic is concerned.
Yeah.
It's like smart, accomplished, professional people interested in guitar at more than just a how do you play Wonderwall, bro, kind of a level.
Yeah, and I could teach the shit out of that.
Well,
but,
sure.
You know, because I understand some of the finer points that even guitar teachers who are doing that on YouTube and elsewhere don't do.
Sure.
But
it's because you're the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
next several levels.
I understand
if you will.
how important it is to have proper eighth note strums because somebody kicked my butt on that a long time ago. You know, in the studio, and they're like, "No, you got to make it like a metronome." I'm like, whatever. But so, I just develop content by finding fun ways. I'll put it this way. I think my biggest skill is I think I understand how people hear. And I think I understand how they listen and how they retain information. And the best way to get something is in a really small piece. And I read a book about learning once, and the guy called it chunking. You take it in these little small chunks. And, I watched somebody play an arpeggio, like an A7 arpeggio, or let's say, a D7 arpeggio. So I played that from the D, but you also have a C and an A here. But if I go showing a beginner that, or somebody who's new to arpeggio, they're not going to understand why I started a D7 arpeggio on an A or a C. So they need to have that like root-to-root thing happening. And then we can always kind of reverse engineer that if we need to. I mean, this lesson I worked up today that I'm going to put out, it's just working on an arpeggio for those 4 notes. And you can get so much music out of that.
Absolutely.
So why would I confuse somebody with 6 strings when I can have them hammer the point home with 4, and then we can go backwards? That's stuff that people don't teach because they don't listen to how they don't pay attention to how people learn. And you got to turn a light bulb on. You have to turn a light switch on with somebody.
You just got to teach enough lessons to figure that kind of shit out.
You do, and not only that. Like I really work hard at trying to understand how people are affected by your speech and by how you deliver information. And I'm going to say this: dumbing it down, you're going to think to yourself like, "Well, I can't do it this way. Somebody's going to judge me for it." Not that guy who's 65 who just decided he wanted to play some blues.
Exactly.
He needs to have it spoon-fed to him, just the way you did when you were learning.
Oh, it's almost like, it's going to surprise people to learn that I wasn't a great student in school. But there were certain classes that I would do really good in.
Yeah.
And those classes were always the ones where teachers understood how to take a thing and break it down or make it relatable or fun for the people who need to learn it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that there are people out there that want to learn these kinds of things. And you're like, how can I make this translate?
Yeah.
And if there's someone out there that's doing it better than you, I haven't watched every video on the internet. I don't have that kind of free time. I wish I did because there's some crazy shit out there. And I haven't watched every guitar video, but I've watched a lot of fucking videos.
Yeah.
And there's not anybody out there that like really seems to get the information across like you.
I appreciate that.
Well, let me say that. Yes, there are, but they're all catering to like the top % of guitar players, which is not the people who need fucking help. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like that's where for me was the Tim Miller website.
Tim's amazing.
Guitarlessons.tv or whatever.
Yeah.
He is amazing. But that is not shit that the guys that you're talking about are looking for, or that
guy's
most
on another
people
level.
are looking for. Well, he totally is.
I love that guy.
It's a fucking another planet.
He's he's from
I worked up a
somewhere
lot
else.
of the this is worth. I did it. I was doing it for a while and I never stuck with it. But all his pentatonic arpeggio shit,
the 2-1-2 shit.
Yeah, they.
Yeah.
I love those, man.
So my thought was like, what if you're playing like a country thing? And it's like, you can put that shit into rock.
Oh, yeah.
So now comes the crossroads of how I'm a teacher. I'm going to watch Tim Miller, and I'm going to make that guy that doesn't give a shit about Tim Miller understand what Tim Miller's doing and putting it in his play. Because I think Tim Miller's genius, and his method's amazing, but it's not going to go across to a guy that wants to play country. So how could I put that in? So I hear between the lines, and I'm like, okay, we could use that.
He's also playing a guitar that looks like a medieval weapon. And he's playing it like this.
Right.
And you're playing a guitar that looks like something you'd see on the Grammys.
Right.
And you're fucking playing it with style and like raw shit. Whereas he's playing, he's the, you know, and thank God for people like neurosurgeons, but he's the neurosurgeon, and you're the fucking ER doctor bringing people back to life.
Yeah, I'm just like the guy that's like, okay, we can fix you up here and go out and have some fun, and now you can walk again or whatever. But
sorry for the weird analogy.
No, that is my. I
love that analogy.
But I realized like that is my path. Like I have stacks of fucking books. I mean, I have hundreds of guitar books. It doesn't matter if it's
I've got a few. I don't have hundreds.
Don Mock or
from guitar from jazz to rock, bro.
I don't think I have that.
I've got that video.
Well, I used to have tons of videos. I still do. I still have VHS. I have DVD that I transferred from VHS.
Hell yeah.
The fucking Mick Goodrick Advancing Guitarist and the one he did with Tim Miller.
I don't have that one. But I have a lot of Don Mock stuff. A lot of like
Don Mock is a bad motherfucker.
He's so knowledgeable, but you give his melodic minor book or something to somebody, they're not going to understand.
Yeah. Do you have?
So challenging.
I need to know just because if so, I gotta get my hands on it. Do you have Scotty Anderson, the Red Hot Guitar or whatever?
I think I have that video.
Yeah. It used to be on YouTube, and I used to go up and like learn, like
I have
work
a
on that
copy
double stop shit.
It's so hard. I could stop.
It is so hard, but
it's amazing.
It is some of the coolest like concepts.
Yeah,
I don't know of anyone else.
What are you talking about? I don't know about this.
Scott. Well, I wish I could show
Henderson?
it up. No,
I can't do it really well.
Scotty Anderson.
I can't really do it really well, but he uses the pick and his finger to do double stops, like and make basically
but
play
in
harmony.
both directions. But
it's lightning fast, and it sounds like you have a harmony pedal.
I'm about to say it's lightning fast, and it's like it's more than just major and minor I mean,
unbelievable.
I'm gonna check this shit out. I'm gonna also put the link in for
if you can find it, that'd be great because it disappeared off of YouTube for a length of time. It's been a long time since I've thought to look for it.
I know I have it somewhere on DVD.
Was there like a title of the video?
I think it's called Red Hot Guitar.
Red Hot.
Yeah.
Scotty Anderson.
So I used to work at
a
music store, and the music store used to rent Starlicks videos on VHS, and I used to, I dare I say steal, but borrow some of those. But I used to get as many as I could,
Sure.
And I would just try to get that stuff as much as you can from everywhere,
It's cool to be able to watch people break down whatever song you're trying to learn on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done some of that, but that's not generally what you're doing. But like, there's something about buying a guitar magazine and like somebody like tab that shit out for you and like reading that shit.
I remember
something about that.
I remember I had a Fender Princeton chorus and a BC Rich. I had a couple BC Riches back in the day. Put headphones on, headphone jack, and I remember when I found the Cowboys from Hell tab, and when I worked that shit up, I thought I was the fucking shit because
that's not an easy.
It's
riff.
not easy, man. I remember I was on a Dimebag tear for a while. I mean, the solo for This Love and Cemetery Gates,
all that shit. What a unique guitar player.
That guy, he's my favorite metal guitar player.
No one has
probably
ever sounded like him before or since.
It was like if Billy Gibbons was a metal player.
Something about them, the Trinity water. I don't know, man.
And it's that pocket, man, just like tons of feel in pocket and just buried in the pocket.
People always say blah 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 is a Texas thing. People in Texas feel like that. there's just something about the culture down there that's just how stuff feels. It doesn't matter what kind of a gig you're on. Everything, like the good bands, all feel great.
Yeah.
And all of my favorite musicians, for the most part, like if I were to have to like give you my favorite three, they're all Texas guys.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and it's probably partially due to upbringing, you know, nurture versus nature, but it's the feel thing that's my favorite.
There was a time when I was listening to nothing but Randy Rogers, Band of Heathens, Hayes Carl, all Texas band. Like,
all great shit.
I love
Randy
all
Rogers
that shit.
Band is extremely underrated.
Oh my gosh,
opinion.
they're incredible. I mean,
great songs.
You know, I got to work with Radney Foster, and the fact that I was one connection to them and the record he produced, I was like, this is freaking cool. I was like, this is what I want to play. Like, it's not red dirt, but you know what I mean. Like,
Radney Foster is a lot better than Randy Rogers, and I love both.
Yeah.
Radney Foster is a fucking legend.
Oh, absolutely.
Bro. That dude is a fucking legend.
I got to track a couple tunes with them with my friend Sarah Eiley and Matt Slahekta, and on her record, and it was really, really fun. You know, good stuff. We about out of time.
I know. I just
the screen's turned around.
the screen is backwards.
I was like, oh shit.
You're sorry. You're not out of time.
Oh, okay.
You guys got like.
Well,
10.
I know that you've got a long.
I should probably get going. I got to go to Sweetwater tomorrow, which will be fun.
More videos on the way from Corey, I'm sure.
I'm gonna do a live stream from Sweetwater.
Corey, hit us with that the website name.
Yeah. Workingclassguitar.com.
And then you've got your regular website,
CoreyCongilio.com.
We'll certainly link.
Which, you know, will be, you know, sort of revised to be more fun. I'm working on some music that will probably live there at some point, and just trying to build my little corner store in the corner of the world.
Well, there'll certainly be links to that, as well as your Instagram and your YouTube channel, and any other link that you want me to include, you can send.
I'll send you that that link for you can get 30% off on the VIP
please
for Working Class Guitar. And if anybody's listening to this and they're like beginner or intermediate blues player, there's a lot of stuff on there.
I was just going to say that
a lot of your listeners probably are accomplished players, but I cater to those that are coming up.
I think that it is actually a wider net than I expected for it to cast. You know,
good.
And, we've done your episode number 32, so we've done 32, and that seems both like none and like a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still pretty new, and I'm still figuring out exactly what it is that I want it to be, and you know what I'm doing.
Same thing with my YouTube channel. It kind of grows the way it should grow. It's just like organism that you figure it out. You know.
This website looks great.
Thanks.
And that casino is beautiful.
Yeah,
dude, it's a pretty ass guitar. Hell yeah.
No, it was. I have a really amazing marketing manager. His name's Steve Burnside. I would be nowhere without him. I met him 3 years ago, and he said, let me build you a website. Not this one. It was my original website. And he started really mentoring me on what it took to build my YouTube channel and things like that. And I went from 2,500 subscribers to 40,000 in 2 years.
Yeah, you're like what, 47,000?
No, just over 40 right now.
Is it
but
40?
Yeah, but it's it ebbs and flows. And
40.7?
It was. It's 41. It just turned 41 while I was here.
Okay, I saw there's a 7. I swear to God, I saw it somewhere.
But that stuff is a long haul. It's a labor of love. You know.
Well, totally. Well, and you can definitely tell that you love what you do. It comes through. Just sitting here playing guitar with you. It's like, that sounds like a guy who fucking loves playing guitar, which is definitely me and definitely Lyndon. And while we don't only have guitar players on here, it certainly is a lot of guitar players.
Right.
Guitar players attract other guitar players.
Yeah.
We want to know your secrets, bro. I really appreciate you coming up here and sharing with us today.
Dude. I'm glad it worked.
Man, me too. And so there'll be links to everything we just talked about. The Working Class Guitar, all your website, Instagram, YouTube. Follow this man. Check his stuff out. Learn from him. Be better. Keep jamming. Keep practicing. Gear and Beer next time. We'll see you next week. Sometimes I'm good at talking. Other times. Thank you for listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Make sure and subscribe and turn on notifications for our channels, and if you haven't already, follow our Instagram and YouTube channels. We truly appreciate your support and ask that you please tell anyone you know whom you think might be interested in our podcast about gear and beer to help us grow and continue bringing in great guests from around the industry and beyond. Thanks again, and until the next episode.